Mhm.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Awake, Aware, Alive. We are here with, I am Lisa Warner and my new co-host, Mara Leon S. And so,
Hello.
hello, Mara. Thanks for joining us. I'm excited to have you as my co-host now. Woohoo! And today we have Melissa Deely with us. Melissa is a beautiful friend of ours. We have known her for a few years, and Melissa is creator of Your Guided Health Journey. She is just an amazing holistic health practitioner, and we're going to have her tell you all about who she is and what she does, and then we'll find out maybe why she does that. Welcome, Melissa.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here and I love this new name, Awake, Aware, Alive. So, yes, I'm an integrative mind body health practitioner. And what that means is I work with people's four bodies: their physical body, their emotional body, their mental body, and their spiritual body. Because by the time symptoms show up in the physical body, they've already moved through the other three bodies. And so we start the healing in the physical body. And I jokingly call myself the friendly toxin slayer because A, it's easier than saying integrative mind body health practitioner, which is quite a mouthful. And B, we start with detoxing. We have to get rid of the toxins that are in our body simply because of the world we live in order to create the space for the goodness and the health to come back in. And then we move up to the emotional body and we detox the emotional body of the stuffed down negative emotions that have been pushed down through a lifetime of living and society teaching us to push down our emotions. And then we move into detoxing the mental body.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is we detox those negative thoughts, the limiting decisions and the limiting beliefs, the I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that are very often carried with us since childhood as part of our programming. And we release those negative thoughts. And then we work with the spiritual alignment, which is bringing people back to who they were always meant to be. And are
Mm.
they living their purpose and passion in this lifetime? Or are they in a job that doesn't bring them joy or fulfillment? That, yes, it might have a paycheck. Yes, it might mean security. However, it's not in alignment with who they were always meant to be. And so I absolutely love this work because that's how we get to true health. If we just address the physical body and we do nothing else, what happens is a couple years down the road, we get more symptoms as the body talks to us again, going, hello, hello. You didn't address all those stuff down negative emotions, or you didn't address the negative beliefs, or you didn't address the misalignment in your life. And so I'm giving you more symptoms is my way of talking to you to ask you to do something differently.
Mhm.
And, I'm sure you both know people that have had some kind of health diagnosis and addressed the physical symptoms and nothing else. And then a couple years later, there's more symptoms. And this is why. And so when we address all four bodies, we get to a place of being able to achieve total health. So that's my Your Guided Health Journey business. And I have started a new business as of October of last year called Amplify Impact Academy.
Mm.
And at Amplify Impact Academy, we train other coaches, counselors, practitioners, nurses. We've had a lot of nurses coming through, psychologists, psychiatrists in these healing modalities so that we can get these tools out to more people because they are highly effective, very quick to work with. And the best part is when we're helping people heal from trauma, we don't have to talk about it. The unconscious mind already knows what happened. So we don't have to put people through the pain again of reliving it. We ask the unconscious mind to take us back. And what did we need to learn? Because here's the thing, everything is happening for us so we can learn something, to learn a lesson. And if we don't learn the lesson, that's when the emotions get stuffed down in the body and trapped, et cetera, et cetera. And the unconscious mind will hold it there until we learn the lesson. So we take people back in order to learn the lesson. However, they don't have to tell us anything about the event. And so it's a beautiful, easy way for people to be able to heal. It is very new and most people don't know about it. And that's why I really appreciate you having me on this show so that we can get this message out and let people know that there's more than one way to heal. And there's some beautiful, easy ways for people to heal as well when they step into choosing to surrender to the process. And it's really beautiful to witness people go through it.
I love that. That's
wow. Yeah.
right. We have both Mara and I have healed ourselves from, made quote unquote major things, that these diagnoses that we get. And along the way we realize, it's the body is not the problem. It's all the things that are happening in the light body, in those other layers, the mental and the emotional and the spiritual layers. And when we get all of those back into alignment, that's when the health happens. That's where we create that beautiful, healthy environment for the body to thrive.
Exactly. And the body is designed to heal, as you both know. And what's unfortunate is that in our society, the way it is now is people get a diagnosis and they go immediately into fear because that's just what we've been programmed. You get told you have this disease or that disease. That sounds like it's going to, you might even be told you have X amount of time to live. And what I like to encourage people to do is flip that all on its head and say, no, I'm not taking on that story. That isn't my story because I can do this differently. And we have so much power right here in our thoughts. And my favorite quote is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of thinking you can't heal or you have, focusing on that thought of X amount of time to live, flip it on its head and change the story and change the thoughts. And yes, it's easy to stand here and say this. However, if you start practicing it every day in your life now, you start to be empowered in your own thoughts and you have much more awareness around your thoughts. And you literally create your own reality with the thoughts that you have every single day anyway. So why not make it positive thoughts? Why not run the love story instead of the horror show? And I talk about this so often that I have a little thing on my desk here. Would you rather run the love story than the horror show? And that's all in the power of our thought.
Mm-hmm.
And again, none of this is taught societally. I didn't know any of this myself until a few years ago. And the more I dive into this work, the more powerful I realize it is. And the more I use it in my life, and it's incredibly empowering. And when it comes to our thoughts, one of the mentors that I've recently found is a fellow by the name of Sydney Banks. And his work in psychology is the only line of work in psychology today that didn't come up through Freud. And of course, Freud was the one who started talk therapy. Now, you both know I'm a hypnotherapist. And when I learned the history of hypnotherapy and how Freud went to the Nancy School of Hypnosis and then threw it all away, it changed my whole foundation of what talk therapy is. So would you like me to share that with you?
Sure.
It's kind of a fun story.
Yeah.
So for hypnosis to be successful, all that the client needs is to have an unconscious mind, which we all have, and to be able to follow the instructions of the practitioner who's guiding you through the hypnotherapy. That's it. It's really that easy. As I said, Freud went to the Nancy School of Hypnosis in France, and he was really excited about hypnosis. And yet, he, as a hypnotherapist, wasn't successful. So he threw it all away. However, the reason he wasn't successful as a hypnotherapist is simply that he had this nasty little habit of chewing the leaves of cocaine plants. That made all his teeth fall out.
Oh boy.
And back in the day, you didn't get nice pearly whites that fit really well in your mouth. You got wooden teeth. They don't fit very well in your mouth. And so it's very hard to enunciate clearly. So if someone's mumbling, you can't understand what they're saying. How can they follow his instructions?
Right.
Because they couldn't understand him because he couldn't speak well. Therefore, hypnosis didn't work for him. So he threw it all away and said, I'm going to create a new method of healing, and it's going to take 600 sessions, and it is not for the poor.
Oh my.
And the client is going to do all the talking because he couldn't talk well. So he had the clients come to his office and sit in a chair facing away from him. And the reason they faced away from him is, can you imagine what his breath might have smelled like with wooden teeth and saliva? Really bad breath. So they faced away from him and he let them do all the talking. And that is how talk therapy started. Now, talk therapy is very good for raising awareness for people around the thoughts that they're having in their head. However, for people to have to talk through their trauma over and over and over again, that is deepening the neurology of the trauma and re-traumatizing them every time, which is why people go to therapy and often feel like they've been hit by a bus when they leave, because they've been re-traumatized. So I've recently discovered through my mentor the works of Sydney Banks. Now, Sydney Banks he's unfortunately no longer alive either. However, he's was a Scottish fellow, and he came to live in Canada on one of our islands off the west coast. And he was a high school dropout in the sense that he only went to grade 10, and I was a welder, and he felt that he was a very insecure individual and, didn't ever think he was anything special. And then he was attending a conference at one point with his wife where he told somebody else that, oh, I'm very insecure. And somebody else shifted his perspective on that thought. Because it's literally a thought, right? And they shifted his perspective on a thought, which had him, over the course of 3 days, have this divine knowledge come down and show him that a thought is just a thought. It is nothing more than that. And we can choose whether we want to ruminate on that thought and hold on to it. And the more we hold on to it, we blow it up into a bigger and a bigger and a bigger and a bigger story. And the more we say that story over and over again, we deepen the neurology of it. Or we have a choice to let that thought go, I don't like that one. Let it float on by. He likens them to clouds in the sky. They just can float on by. And we can let our thoughts float on by as well. And again, somebody listening might be like, oh, that's so easy to say. Yes, it's easy to say. And yes, it takes practice. However, first you have to understand and just even have that awareness. I don't have to hold on to that thought. What happens if I just let that thought go? And then start practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's a funny meme that my mentor created, and it's a waterfall coming down into a river. And in the river are little poop emojis. And some of them have lilies around them, right? And he likens it to all those poop emojis are your poopy thoughts. And then the lily ones are all your happy thoughts. And then there's a picture of someone bending down and picking up a poop emoji and smelling it. The joke being, you don't have to bend down and smell it. You can let it float on by. Choose which ones you want to engage with. Choose the happy thoughts and engage with them.
Mm. Wow.
Maura does this so well. Maura's like the expert at this.
Well, Melissa, I love hearing about the history of this. That those were things I did not know about, and it's so interesting. And yeah, I am getting good at it because I'm learning to be interested and learning to, like, for me, one of the hardest things was to not judge the thoughts. Once I started noticing them, right, when I got to the next phase of, well, this is a thought that isn't serving me, then I would find myself like kind of holding on to it by judging the fact that I was having the thought still. Why am I still having this thought, right? And so one of the things I learned, and I don't know if this is part of what you teach, but one of the things I learned that I love this perspective is to look at it as the thoughts coming up are actually part of the healing process, and not attaching to them allows the healing process to move through and complete, where attaching to them kind of stops that healing process. Or, yeah, and attaching to them by judging them like I was doing, that's one of the ways to what would you call it, to sort of I can't think of the word, suppress, like to suppress the thing that is part of the healing that just wants to move through and complete. So what I'm learning is to just have some neutrality in looking at all these, and curiosity, and going, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, not pick it up and smell it.
Exactly.
Just watch it go by.
And yeah, that's absolutely, this line of work. And I have a book here, which is written by somebody that Sydney Banks mentored, George Pransky, and he is down in Seattle area. And my business partner went to his conference in October. I was at a health conference. She went to this one, so that we're both, capturing all the learning that we can. But life is a metaphor. And I'll just zoom in on that image there for you.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Sydney Banks and George Pransky talk about the 3 Ps, the 3 principles, which is thought, consciousness, and mind. And this was the divine download that Sydney Banks received. And you can see there that the projector is consciousness. And that's what makes the film come to life, right? And the film is the thought. And then the mind is the plug-in, the electricity. So nothing works without the mind, right? And then you have the thought, and then the consciousness is what adds all the pizzazz to the thought to make it come to life. That's like the, bending down and smelling it. Do you want to engage with it? And what's important for people here to know is if we need to change the movie into the love story, we don't change the projector. We have to change the thought. Right.
And also we can change where we plug that in.
Yes.
Maybe this is a weird way of looking at it, but we've all sort of been plugged into the matrix of programming. And so the thoughts that we're being fed, which are the real projector, are the ones that, don't necessarily benefit us. And so if we plug into something like what you're doing instead, you're using that same technique to sort of program us in a more in the direction that does benefit us.
Yeah. And that's individual to each person, right? It's based on who they are and where they want to go and the life that they're supposed to be leading and why they came back to Earth this time around, to Earth School. And yeah, so I love this work because it powerfully shifts people towards that future that they've been wanting to get to and not getting there. They're getting stuck. They're hitting a wall, and they're hitting a wall because of that childhood programming, right? Which we all have. And it's not that, well-meaning parents weren't necessarily meaning to program us with, I'm not smart enough. However, if you come home as a child and you have 5 A's on your report card and 1 B, and the parent goes, oh, next time try and get all A's, your interpretation of what that meaning was can become your programming, right? That 0 to 6 window is actually when we're really susceptible because we're still in our theta brainwave. And that's why kids learn so much so quickly. And we have to be in that theta brainwave in order to learn everything that we need to learn in those first 6 years of life, from, how to smile, to rolling over, to crawling, to walking, to language, to the rules of the house and the rules of school and the rules of society, etc., etc. All of that's programmed. And our unconscious mind is incredibly powerful, and it has so much to do that it doesn't change anything if it works. So we can all still walk, and we're all, in our 50s and more. So that program still works. So we keep running that program every day. How many other programs does our unconscious mind still have us run every day in order for it to be efficient? However, that's no longer working for us because our inner 5-year-old isn't really qualified to run our adult life. And that's where we get stuck. And people try different things. As long as that inner 5-year-old is still running your life, you're not going to get unstuck. We need to go in and discover, okay, what is that program, that strategy that you're running that worked back then that isn't working now? And we change it literally by rewiring the neurology. And it's so cool that we can do that because of the neuroplasticity of our brain. It can learn new tricks. We just have to show it a different path, and it will run what's deepest. And because that's the most efficient. Oh, I know that. I'm just going to go do that. And we show it a new path. And then we practice that new path in order to turn that little bunny trail into a 2-lane road, a 4-lane road, 8-lane highway. So this work is incredibly powerful and helps people heal in so many different ways, whether it's healing, mental health, whether it's healing physical health. As I said, we're looking at all 4 bodies. And so it's addressing the entire being.
Yeah, because all of that works together.
Exactly.
As I've been having more practice at tuning into myself, my true self, I've been noticing that when I'm feeling something physically, I'm feeling something emotionally and or mentally at the same time. And those things are connected, and I hadn't made the connection before. And now that I'm seeing it, it's so interesting, and it becomes something that I can understand more, that I can realize, again, is either a message or a healing process or both.
Exactly. And that's where what you're doing is you're tapping in and using your intuition. And intuition is that connection between the unconscious mind and the higher self. And it will never lead us astray, because the higher self has the perfect blueprint of our perfect health, and it has access to all of the resources that we need in order to fulfill our mission in this lifetime.
Yep.
The conscious mind can't access the higher self. Only the unconscious mind can. The conscious mind will talk to the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind talks to both the conscious mind and the higher self. So we have to tap through the unconscious mind and access that intuition in order to access the higher self. And again, it's like a muscle. So the more you use it, the more you can access those resources. And if you're not using it, then you don't realize those resources are there, or you discredit it, or you have that gut feeling, and yet you consciously overthink it and do something else. And we've all done that as well. And it perhaps doesn't turn out quite so well. And again, there's a lot of societal programming around that too, because, we go to school and we're taught to be in our conscious thinking mind. And we're not taught about the unconscious mind. And we hear in society all the time, well, we only use 10% of our brain. Our brain's so powerful, we only use 10% of it. What I've come to realize where that's come from is literally our conscious mind makes up 10% of our mind, and the unconscious mind is the other 90%. And we're actually using all of our mind all of the time, not necessarily together. However, the conscious mind is running, or the unconscious mind is running our body, keeping us breathing, keeping our heart pumping, digesting our food without us ever thinking about it, because it's unconscious. It's storing a memory for every single event we've ever had, which is why I said earlier, it already knows what happened. It's all stored. So do you think that we're only using 10% of our mind is crazy? 10% of mind is the conscious mind. And that's what, when we go to school, we're taught that's where we do our thinking and our problem solving. And that's what we're taught about. The unconscious mind is so much more powerful. And that's what gets me so excited, is sharing with people the power that we, again, carry in our body. And we think of our mind in our head. In reality, yes, our brain's in our head. Our mind is different to our brain. And our mind is throughout our entire body.
Lisa, I'm jumping in so much.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So I have a question, Melissa. Do you think that by doing this work that we're talking about, this exploration and this healing work, that it can possibly shift the ratio between how much how much is conscious and how much is unconscious? Like that percentage can shift and start to get more balanced on the conscious side. I mean, that seems to be my experience, but I don't know if I'm maybe not, based on the way that you're looking at it. It may not be an accurate representation.
So I think there's two ways of referring to consciousness and unconsciousness there. So that's a slightly different question to what I was talking about.
Okay.
So when I talk about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and the 10% and the 90%, those percentages are in relation to the work that is being done by either mind. What you're talking about is increasing our consciousness, which we can do. And we increase our consciousness by tapping into our unconscious mind and our higher self.
But if you're tapping into it, then you're making the unconscious conscious, right? No?
Yes, you're bringing more of the unconscious into your consciousness. Absolutely. However, that's not, I don't have a percentage on that in terms of, because that would be different for every single individual.
Right.
As opposed to the 10%, 90% is in relation to the work being done by each of those parts of the mind.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
And so, yes, the more we tap into the unconscious and the higher self, we raise our consciousness. And, as a planet, that's where we're at now, as we've moved into the age of Aquarius, and this fifth paradigm is that we're shifted into now. More and more people are recognizing and wanting to be on the side of the light worker and raising their consciousness and getting that message out to the world that we can do that.
Yeah. And, from my perspective, like, we are all the higher self. Like, that's who we are. And,
Yes.
It's not meant to be, a higher self, like somewhere else. Like, that's who we are. And it's all of this, faulty programming, all of these, anti-life beliefs that we have been taught, that then start to kind of dumb us down from that higher self. So really what we're all in now is this detox process of clearing out all of the garbage that has been shoved into our minds, so that we can actually heal and we can actually be who we're meant to be.
Yes. And we are so incredibly powerful. And over the course of history, time and time again, as humans realize something, learn something new, if they don't understand it, the fear comes in and we push it down. And that very much happened with hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy has been around since the beginning of time. And over that, all the way till now, it's risen up in popularity as a powerful healing modality, and then been squashed, and risen up and been squashed. Because when people realize just how powerful it is, they become afraid of it. And they don't know if it's going to be safe, because how can that possibly happen so quickly, that shift? That seems scary to me. Let's squash it down. And the same has happened as to the programming that you talk about, that the unconscious mind and the higher self have so many resources, are so powerful. And as humans, we didn't understand it. So we just squashed it down. We even named it the subconscious, which means less than, lower than, which is why you'll never hear me say subconscious, because it is not less than or lower than.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it the unconscious, which has nothing to do with requiring to call 911. It is simply another aspect of your mind that we're really starting to understand now. And yet I would venture to say we still only understand tiny, tiny little bit of the power of our mind. And that's why I love that quote so much. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You can't do anything in your life without first having the thought. So what is that thought?
Right. And look at all the thoughts that are thrown out there for public purview every day. You know, just turning on the news, going to a movie, listening to music. Think of all of those thoughts. Going to school. Think these thoughts now. Nope, now bell rings. Okay, now we're going to go think these other thoughts.
Which is why I recently wrote an article on LinkedIn talking about the power of asking why. Such a simple question. And when you hear something, ask why. Whether it's going to the doctor and they tell you this is what you need to do, ask why. So that you have a deeper understanding to see if what they're telling you resonates with you. And if it doesn't, you're welcome to go get a second opinion, a third opinion, talk to different people in different, forms of healing. And it's not just in healing, though. Every aspect of your life. Someone tells you something, think about it, go, why? And again, it's funny because I realized society even programmed us out of that. The 2-year-old naturally asks why. And I get it because I've got kids. And when your kid's incessantly going, but why, mommy? But why, mommy? But why, mommy? And you're trying to make dinner and do this and do that all at the same time, it does get a little bit annoying, right? So we get trained out of asking why. And then when I look back, it's funny because years ago, I remember my brother's wife said to me at one point when we were on vacation together, and she goes, "Oh my goodness, you're just like him. You ask why as often as he does." And I'd never noticed it. I had never noticed that he asked why a lot, that I asked why a lot. However, when I look back, I do. When I was struggling with migraines years ago, they suddenly got worse. I had them every day for a week at work. And I went to the doctor to ask why. And the doctor had no answer, just wanted to give me another prescription, a stronger one. And I'm like, no, I want to know why they're suddenly worse, because if I know why they're suddenly worse, then I could do something about it and then fix it.
Right.
So then I found a naturopathic doctor who took me down a different path of doing some hormonal lab tests and figuring out, oh, look, my progesterone level was really low to estrogen. And in me, that shows up as a migraine. So we rebalanced the hormones and the migraines went away because I asked why. And I look back, there's so many times in my life where I've asked why. I wasn't willing to just accept what I was being told. And some people might find that to be painful because we've societally been taught not to ask why.
Exactly.
However, coming back full circle, it's more important than ever now to be asking why.
Yeah. That's nicer than what I usually do. I just say, no, that doesn't make any sense. This is how it really is.
And in that process, there's still a piece of the why, right? Because if it's not making sense to you, there's a part of you that has already asked the why without you even being consciously aware of asking the why.
Well, yeah, I'm asking it within myself, because by just telling me what they're telling me, they've kind of already indicated to me that they're not capable of answering the why question.
Right. Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm on my own here. Maybe I can teach them something.
Yeah. Or ask someone else the why question. Right.
Yep.
And so, again, in this time and age, it's so important to have community around you of like-minded people and a network of other experts around you, so that you have people that you can go to be getting second opinions, to be asking why when something doesn't sit with you, as opposed to just accepting what you hear out of someone's mouth or the television or the movie screen or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And we're so programmed to go and ask the experts why. You know, why not sit with ourselves and find that answer from inside?
Yes.
Because when it comes to us, we are each our own expert. There is nobody else who's an expert on me other than me.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
you've lived in your body your whole life.
Exactly.
You have access to all the resources and the
Mm-hmm.
perfect blueprint. So yes, you are the best expert. And I jokingly say that too to clients. You're your own best doctor.
And we all have access to the one mind if we really go to that place in consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are all, beautiful conversations that are starting to happen with more frequency now, which I love seeing.
Yeah.
As people awaken and become aware, and then can become truly alive, because when you awaken and you're aware, you live your life differently. You stand in your power differently.
Yes. Absolutely. When we
And
start
it's a beautiful place
asking
to be.
some of the bigger why questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, time to pay your taxes. Why? Like, why are we doing that? You have to register your vehicle. Why? We start asking some of the questions that we've been taught never to ask. Just do it because these are the rules. When we start to question the rules, it's like, oh, we start to do a little bit more digging. We start to realize that, wait a second, the rules don't have to be the rules. They're just rules because everybody agrees on them. And when we start to realize that we have a lot more latitude than we think we do, we start to realize that we're far more free than they want us to be with people who are in control. So it's really about, like you're saying, clearing out all of those old beliefs that we've been taught and really tuning into the power of our own minds and to use that inner guidance as our discernment. Because, like you said, it will never steer us wrong.
Exactly. And I love knowing that. And I love being able to access that.
Yeah.
Because then in wherever I'm at with decision making, I can move forward with so much confidence. And that's a beautiful place to be.
It is. Melissa, are you finding that, because it feels to us like now is the time, are you finding more people are becoming ready for this information and this shift of being, of consciousness, of way of looking at things and all of that?
Yes, absolutely. So that there's the morphogenic field, and we get closer and closer to that tipping point, right? So have you heard the story of how we learned about the morphogenic field and how the knowledge comes down? Like enough knowledge, and there's that flow, right, through the quantum field. So it was a Russian study, or a study off the coast of Russia, off some islands in Russia, of monkeys. And monkeys don't swim. So that's why at the zoo, there's always a moat around the monkeys. The fence is to keep the people out. The moat is to stop the monkeys climbing the fence and escaping. And they were studying these monkeys. And one day, one of the researchers picked an orange off a tree and then washed it in the ocean without even thinking, unconsciously doing it, and then started eating the fruit. And the next day, they noticed a monkey washing his fruit. And they're like, oh no, we've ruined this research. Now we have to go to another area and start the research over. So let's go to the far side of the island, because it's highly unlikely a monkey will have, gone across to the other side of the island and set up over there. And they went over to the far side of the island to find the monkeys were washing their fruit. So they went, okay, we just have to go to a completely different island and start over. And they went to a completely different island that there's no way one of those monkeys could have traveled over to because they don't swim. And the monkeys over there were washing their fruit. And it's because of that morphogenic field and the connectedness between the monkeys. And we have that as humans as well. And as more humans start to understand consciousness and the light worker, and that we can live a different way, that morphogenic field is impacted, and eventually we get to a tipping point where it just, moves through all of humanity very, very quickly. So we're still on the rising up now. However, that is escalating. Absolutely.
And that's inside our bodies as well. The same thing.
Yes. Absolutely. Because again, all of that is happening without us actually consciously doing anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
We come together, we talk, we share, and we spread, the thoughts, and we share these ideas with people, and other people tap in, and it just spreads across the morphogenic field so that someone in other countries are literally downloading or hearing our thoughts, our conversations, as it moves up through the quantum field and down again.
Yep. So now we just do that with peacefulness. We can get peaceful enough within ourselves and among each other to create that field that spreads everywhere.
Exactly.
It's on Earth.
And we can get there. We can get there.
Yep.
Oh, we can. It's so exciting. It's such an exciting time to be alive.
It really is. There's so much hope. And for people that are feeling like there isn't hope, I recommend that you turn off the television. Yes. And if you've already done that and things haven't shifted for you, then start to become aware of the conversations that are happening around you by other people in your community. And are those conversations lifting you up, or are they taking you down? And they might not be taking you down in the sense of they're, negative towards you. I'm talking about your energy level. Is your energy level being drained being around those people? And if it is, start to think about who lifts me up, who boosts my energy when I'm with them, and spend more time with them.
Exactly.
And be one of those people too.
Exactly.
Notice what's coming out of your own mouth when you're in conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Because one of the prime directives of the unconscious mind, and the prime directives is job, and there's about 20 of them that I teach in my training. One of them, though, is that it takes everything personally. Everything. So whether it hears the conversation of a group that you're in and they're all talking negatively, your unconscious mind doesn't know that that's about them and not you. So it's taking it in and thinking it's about you, and that drains your energy. And so something that I use all the time is, even if in training I'm trying to explain things to people, and I said it earlier on this, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not clever enough, cancel, cancel, cancel. So my unconscious mind doesn't take that in. And so, yeah, we are the average of the 5 people we hang around with the most. Choose those people wisely. And you can't choose your family. Your family's your family. And if your families are being, doing the crabs in the bucket to you, and you're trying to grow and go down a different path, and they're trying to pull you back, know that they're doing that out of love, because they're worried they're going to lose you.
That's right.
And just let them know that they're not going to lose you if they let you go to do what you need to do. There's that saying, and I'm going to butcher it, and I remember it from when I was a child, but something along the lines of, the greatest thing that you can do for someone you love is to let them go and watch them fly. not hold on to them, even though you want to just cuddle them and hold on to them forever. Because when you let them go and they can fly, they'll always come back to you, versus being the crabs in the bucket and not letting them go.
Love that.
And the other message I often tell people is that if you want to do something and you're excited about it and you tell someone else and the first words out of their mouth is, you can't do that, I want you to know that that has nothing to do with you. Remember, the unconscious mind takes everything personally. So their unconscious mind has processed what you want to do as if it's them, and then is running that against their resources, their passions, their skill set, and has said, you can't do that, meaning the other person. They don't have your skill set, your passions, your desire, etc., etc. They can't do what you just said you wanted to do. You can.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, too many people stop doing something because they've been told, you can't do that. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
That's funny. I actually heard in my head the response where they say, you can't do that. And I respond, yes, you can.
Exactly. Yes, you can.
You can.
Exactly.
You can do anything you set your mind to, because it's the power of thought. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And sorry, I talked over you there, Lisa.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that if we've been given a vision of something, then if we can see it, we can do it. You know, that's
Exactly.
why we've been given that vision.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. Wow. So, Melissa, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
It has been. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share these thoughts, these concepts, these ideas, and introducing people to the fact that there are many ways to heal and that they have the power within.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's
I just
Go ahead, Maura.
I just want to say you're doing such important work, Melissa. Thank you so much for being so committed to it. I can tell you're really passionate about it as well. And so I am absolutely certain that anyone who works with you is getting results because of that passion being transferred.
And thank you very much. Yes, I do absolutely love this work and love sharing it and letting people know that it's available to them.
Awesome.
Beautiful. So what do you have coming up for if somebody wants to reach out to you and work with you? Do they work with you one-on-one? Do they do courses with you? What do you have for everybody?
It really depends what they would like to do. So next Tuesday, I don't know when this is coming out, January 14th, we have a Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is, that introductory step for people. There's no charge and people can come and just start to learn about their unconscious mind. And we have a number of different courses, whether it's learn self-hypnosis, learn higher self-hypnosis. We have an 8-day practitioner training where in 8 days people can become designated in NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and NLP results coaching, which is a really powerful interactive program. There is some pre-work, so we can get through it all in 8 days. The pre-work is simply audios to listen to unconsciously, in the sense that you don't have to listen and take notes. And we also then follow that with a master practitioner training that allows people to guarantee their results for clients, because we're literally rewiring the neurology and the people can no longer do the behavior or the problem that they came to you with in the first place. So whether it's going through the breakthrough as an individual for yourself, or whether it's going through the trainings in order to be able to work with clients, we have all of that available through either your guided health journey or the Amplify Impact Academy.
Nice.
That's awesome. Congratulations on all of that. And
thank you.
You also have a nonprofit that you have started in your spare time.
I do, and that is Girls Matter. And this is my passion project, and that is keeping girls in school in Uganda and Kenya and stopping teenage marriages. Because unfortunately, in many countries around the world, high school education is not free. And when it comes down to the choice of putting food on the table or paying for education, food on the table is more important. And then the girls don't get to go to school and very often get married off as teenagers, because then they become someone else's problem to feed. And so we fundraise to keep the girls in school, to provide menstrual supplies, which they also don't have otherwise. And that allows them to go to school every day of the month. And that empowers them to lead their best life. And when we educate the other half, meaning the girls, it actually grows the GDP of nations. I saw a stat once that said if India could educate just 1% more girls, they would grow their GDP by $5.5 billion. And I realized there's the answer to bring countries out of poverty, is educate the other half, grow the GDP, and it becomes self-sustainable.
And maybe they'll start. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say our tagline is that we break the poverty cycle, one girl, one family, one village at a time.
Beautiful. I'm going to say maybe they'll also start learning from you how to educate those girls properly.
When the next phase.
Yep, exactly. One step at a time.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's my passion project. We have an incredible board of directors, and if people would like to, support that and donate, they can go to our website, girlsmatter.ca, and you can just you get a tax receipt that works for taxes in both Canada and the US, and you can donate by subscription if you wanted to just set up, $5 a month, $10 a month instead of one cup of coffee, or donate at a time where you've got funds and you want to donate a little bit more to support, because this too is how we change the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for all the work you do, Melissa. It's really making a difference in the world. So thank you so much.
Well, it is absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me here and for the opportunity to share it. And I truly appreciate that.
Awesome. So everyone, please reach out if this conversation has resonated with you today. Please feel free to reach out to Melissa. Her information will be in the show notes, so you can easily access it there. So, Melissa, thank you so much. It's been just a pleasure having you here today.
Really? Yes, it has. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you both for having me. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks. You too. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.